Alex, welcome very much to you. We'll continue a little bit in English because with the theory in mind, it's always nice to get a practical example. So I don't know if you're going to be mentioning your Amazonification process, but Alex is from Liberaton and will take us through the journey of being a lifestyle brand and engaging with the end consumer. It is right here.
Yeah, cool. Hey, thanks everyone for having me. So I want to apologize. I have to start with a few apologizes. First of all, I'm sorry I'm only speaking English, but then the Swede has done this as well, so I'm alright. So I just joined Liberaton about 9-10 months ago, and I've been working in marketing for the past 15 years in various kind of like companies, Microsoft, Nokia, last in Dubai with Dubai Tourism, so this is my 5th country, and now I finally found a beautiful kind of like brand to work with. There's a lot of Amazonification what we've been trying over the past months, so I show you a couple of kind of like steps along the way what we've done in our journey, and I hope you can take a few kind of like bites out of that. If not, then please don't be afraid to kind of like ask questions or comment. Completely agree, by the way, with IBM man over here. It's not just Amazon, so don't be afraid of it. I guess I want to kick off and start a little bit on what this chap over here said, Jeff Bezos. You know him, he's the only trillionaire at the moment in the world. And he said start with the customer and work backwards. So whilst I agreed with everything what was said before in terms of like, there's a certain kind of like convenience which comes with it, I think there's also a lot of things which outshine convenience these days. One big thing is where everyone is having a conversation is about data. Another thing which is also is the service. So it's not just, oh, I'm getting something delivered, you know, the next day, but if it's broken and I can deliver it and send it back and return it, then I have even more convenience if the service is right. So what we've done at Liberaton as well, we are a small brand, so I'm not sure, does anyone know Liberaton here? Well done. So that was me, that was the previous guys, but we try to get all of you guys raise the arm in the future, so that was the things we were doing. But how we approached our marketing strategy and our retail approach was very much looking into, okay, what are the core components from a consumer, what they might need most. And there's 4 things what I want to talk you through, and apologies, it's very kind of like small font here. The first thing is the brand consistency. So if you're a brand and you don't have really some sort of alignment, you know, it comes across fragmented and you won't get any recall value. So I'm jumping into these 4 topics very briefly. Next thing is the reinvesting from our own web store. So definitely I see it as well what gentleman, sorry, I forgot your name. What Jonas said before, that there is a lot of stuff that's going to marketplaces. I don't think it will be there in forever. I think it will come back as well to kind of like individual businesses, but it's a starting point. And we're talking a little bit about strategic partnership. That's the point where I can't reveal too much due to certain NDAs, but I guess Emil from BCG will probably give you a little bit more details of what he has, which is not necessarily related to a certain brand, but more generic. And then what is actually the retail kind of like landscape looking like, especially when it comes to our brand as well. So we're starting with what we've done at Liberaton. So the ones who raised the arm may have seen Liberaton pretty much looking like me, you know, black shirt, very kind of like blue jeans, and similar to another way bigger Danish kind of like audio brand over the past couple of years. So we haven't really had anything what we stand out with. So I think it makes sense, by the way, guys. I know I'm drifting away from Amazon, but there's a reason for that. Because whilst there are endless opportunities with Amazon, if you're not being noticed on Amazon because there's so many brands, you've lost already. So I guess the starting point for us was taking everything in. How do we look like from a brand exposure? How do we actually get noticed? And is there any sort of a recall value? If someone sees now these punchy kind of like creatives which are very much aligned to our speakers, our headphones as well, very colorful, then there's this, you know, there's a bigger chance that the name Liberaton, which is not a ringtone company, our little kind of like bird, which is a nightingale based on Hans Christian Andersen and so on, will have some sort of like a recall and will get stuck in a consumer's mind. So what we've done over the past months is a 180-degree shift change in how do we actually look like, how do we talk, how do we communicate with the consumers, and how we are actually getting it aligned across the various countries we're working in. We're working massively in Germany is a big market for us, the UK, France, the US, Denmark more and more, and then also Far East in China. So there's a certain kind of a consistency what you can see when it comes to our website, when it comes to Amazon press sites as well, trade shows, airport advertisement, point of sale, everything had to be aligned. The next thing is what we did, and excuse me, that was probably one of the things where I received the biggest stick from the team as well, was when we paused our web store. So I'm always very, and I guess we had lots of conversations and we obviously looked into the data as well. The reason why we made the decision was running a web store, and many of you know this as well, it costs a lot of money. There is resources included in terms of headcount. There is consumers who have questions. There are certain kind of like tools, certain kind of like, whether it's hosting, whether it's certain kind of like maintenance work, whether it's data applications and so on, CRM, everything is required and costs a bit of money. We spent a lot of money and didn't sell much through our web store. The reason is, why should we? Or why should a consumer buy from a brand they haven't heard of? Why shouldn't they just buy from Amazon? What you said as well, because of the convenience, you've got a 30-day return, so why should we kind of like fight this? I think there is a move coming back to us as well in the future, but for now, what we've done is we stopped selling directly to our web store, took that headcount away and reinvested that money into other e-commerce platforms, Amazon being one of those. So we are not saying right now we killed e-commerce, which was the thing what my team was saying at the beginning. Oh, he came in and he killed e-commerce. We didn't kill e-commerce. So we've got the UK example. You can see, Amazon is on there. In Denmark, we don't have Amazon. We've got UMAC, we've got 3, Elegant and other players on there. You see a mobile experience in Germany. It's very fast. It's a one-click solution as well. You deep link to the product on the respective retailer and just check out over there. So there's obviously a lot of stuff what we are lacking then. We're not getting the right data immediately. But in a nutshell, we give the consumer a journey and an option where they can purchase from the ever relevant page for him or her. And the money we took out from, or we gained through the stopping any sort of kind of maintenance work, we push into kind of like the sales channels directly. The next thing is now the strategic partnership, and that's where I can't dig too much into it. There's a thing what we've been doing, and some of you who work with Amazon's may be aware there's various kind of like sales forms and partnerships you can have. We started out with a seller central thing, so I don't want to bore you with all of the acronyms. You can find it all on the Amazon side. There's stuff like seller central, which is pretty much like you as a consumer, or sorry, you as a retailer, list your products on the Amazon site, and you take all of the fulfillment. So meaning the logistics, answering and shipping and doing all of that. We've gone to another model which is called AVS, which is not Amazon Voice Services, what we're working in as well, because we have Alexa enabled. AVS is Amazon Vendor Services, which means they are a strategic partner. It costs money. They are a strategic partner in about 5 countries for us right now, where they handle the distribution. Now that comes also with a bit of difficulties as well, because they go into kind of like crawling the prices of your products across the entire kind of like network, because they want to stay very competitive and lower maybe the price of your very own product on the Amazon platform. There's something what you can do to prevent this, which I'm coming to in a bit. Now, Amazon Vendor Services also enables you to have certain kind of like sorry, go on. I've got 6 minutes. Oh well, what? 6-ish. So there's the product listing. There's certain kind of like media services you can have as well, which is the media group. This large display advertisement costs a lot of money, and you only do it when it really makes sense. If you're doing a product launch, for instance, and you get some exposure. Things which are very important and we convert quite well for us. You're thinking about the Google search. Whenever you type in Libertone or you type in whatever kind of like Audi, whatever brand, IKEA, you see the first kind of like listings, so sponsored links. These things you can buy in various kind of like forms and shapes as well on Amazon, and they make quite a lot of sense and convert quite well. So Amazon Media Services, PPC, is something what we're running quite constantly, always on across many markets. And then there's also some sort of like programmatic buying methods you can do with Amazon together or on your own, and have advertisement across the entire Amazon network as well. So thinking they also own IMB, they own Twitch as well, one of the biggest streaming platforms. So you can buy media across these platforms as well in a programmatic way on certain audiences. So now there's a lot of things what you can do with Amazon, and it is confusing. So I'm not kind of like pretending I'm an expert on that. We've got teams on that as well working. But in a nutshell, you've got to have a strategic partnership with them in place if you really want to make a dent. And there's certain kind of like medias you can buy, and you can buy too much media as well. The last thing what we're quite proud of actually is we're moving not only into digital, we just opened last week on, I'm sorry for the pronunciation, on Stroge Ostergaard 26, just opposite Burberry, next to Peak Performance. Further down is another audio retailer. You know these guys, so when you next time go to them, come to us after, buy our products, you get 10 for your money. So we opened the store last week Friday, and it was a very strategic decision, especially in Denmark because of our home turf. So we've got some physical stores in the Far East. That's our first store in Denmark. I know, you're looking at me, I'm studying, I'm going fast. So we opened that store in Copenhagen. I have to rush as well because on Friday we opened it with Danish media, and today we have British and German media over to give them the full kind of like Copenhagen experience. And there's a few reasons why we opened the store, and I'm coming to this as well, and why we're investing back into brick and mortar, because I don't think it is all just going into, you know, marketplace platforms, especially if you're selling tangible products. Challenges, opportunities, so just dashing through this very quickly. Cutting through the noise in an ever-growing digital world is super complicated because, well, actually it's not too complicated, it's just you have to have a lot of money to spend money to actually get exposure. Then half of the data may be actually not the right data as well. Perhaps it's third-party data, you can't bring it in. So it's a tricky bit in this. It's not a rocket science, but I think it's a tricky bit in there's a lot of competition who will pretty much have deeper pockets when it comes to kind of like outspending you. And us being a small brand, we've got lots of these competitors. So that's why, you know, we try to do things a little bit different and go where other people may not go. Algorithms, systemized processes, big data, friend and foe. So the good thing is with Amazon, yes, it has the complete transparency of a consumer. The recommendation engine is very strong and so on. The problem what it has for you as a brand is in order to unlock these kind of like data, you have to pay money. Because that's the entire business model of why Jeff Bezos is $1 billion worth. They want to keep the data very close. So the biggest thing between your own web store and an Amazon is you will not have any data. The data is owned by Amazon. They give you chunks of data you can access through certain kind of like media campaigns, but you will never get any data and just say, oh, today I'm doing an email blast based on my kind of like consumer base or based on people who were interested in our products on Amazon. That's not happening. That's why Amazon is making the money. So it's a bad thing, but I guess you know, it's things you can overcome again if you work slightly differently. The one thing which I think is a positive to take out is where Amazon is not just a marketplace to sell. It's a massive review angle as well to it. So whenever you go to, and probably here as well, and I don't, you know, we all can't buy on Amazon, or you can right now, you can get it shipped from Germany for, I think if you order more than €40, you have a Prime account. You start looking at reviews. It's a very, very powerful engine. And I know I'm spinning out the rich content, it's too much topic right now, but on the reviews, there's programs as well, such as an Amazon Vine program, where you can seed a product to an Amazon reviewer before you launch. And these people will give you a fairly kind of like objective review and stick it onto your brand site, which is a good starting point when you launch new products and so on. So that's something what we do quite regularly. Also, coming to another point, the success parameters we're looking in for Amazon, again, they may be different for all of the companies and brands which are here. For us, what is most interesting is like having the appropriate stock availability. So that's one thing. If you're having Amazon vendor services, they do the restocking. And they do the restocking based on their kind of like prediction model. So let's say they buy 10 speakers. And then they will first see whether they're actually selling those 10 speakers if it's a new brand. And if they have sold them out, then they will restock. MSRP stability. What it means is the manufacturer suggested retail price, recommended retail price. Very, very important. That's the biggest thing in terms of like trying across all of your sales partner, have them run your product on your prices, not on promotions. Because otherwise, if just saying Elgiganten puts it in for 100 euro, UMAC puts it in for 90 euro, then Amazon will put it in for 89 euro because they will be cheaper. So you have to establish across the entire sales ecosystem and sales channels a right price. A+ content, again, you can do lots of brilliant things with rich content. Coming back to the recommendation and reviews, and I guess that's where service is very, very important as well. If you're listening to consumers, if you hear their feedback and they read the reviews, if you answer to them as well, they will change. If they get afterwards a positive review experience, they can retrospectively change their reviews as well. That's what we have had quite a few success points as well. Some people are very impatient. They wanted to work straight away, and they had, for whatever reason, let's just say they had a VPN running on their phone and couldn't set up the speaker. That will have an impact on their regional settings, which has an impact on the speaker because it's a Wi-Fi speaker, and they were just, starting to complain. We take the conversation off Amazon with our support team, go over email or other means of communication, and if it's solved, they often go back and make a 2-star into a 5-star, and it's very, very important. So I think you can still win with great service. And closely monetize your marketing expenditures and how you sell on ACoS. That's what we do in ACoS. It's the cost of sale. So it's not just, oh, we've sold a product that's great, but take into consideration the margin you have, take off all of the marketing activities as well. And that's what you get beautiful insights from Amazon if you're selling to the platform. Very quickly, so the last thing what I just want to run through is the first thing, which is, sorry if I hope I don't hit anyone in the wrong kind of like area here. But I guess you wouldn't be here if you have a mediocre or a substandard product or service. So if you don't have a good product, it won't make it in digital. It won't make it in physical, but it definitely doesn't make it in the digital world either. The brand consistency, again, is for us one of the biggest things in order to stand out and have an aligned exposure across all our touch points. Retail and Amazon go hand in hand. So the KPI we have for our physical store here in Copenhagen is not sales. If we would have a sales target on that store, we wouldn't have opened the store, but you will never hit the store. You will never hit the sales numbers. So if someone goes into the store, gets a great experience, we've got an acoustic room in there, we can show different kind of like smart services with our product. If that all works, and they say, okay, well, I haven't heard about Liberation, it's actually quite cool. They walk out, they pass by the other player on there, and buy the product a week later or 2 weeks later on an Elgiganten, on an UMAC 3, or Amazon when it comes, then we are very happy. Then the store has done its job. So it's all about kind of like making brick and mortar work very well together with the digital marketplace as well. So I guess that leaves us. So don't find Amazon. Don't think the world is over. It's an opportunity for you, but try to kind of like really combine all of your sales channels and take Amazon as a tactical, strategic point to it as well. Sorry.
Thank you, Alex. No, it was very important lessons. I enjoyed the fact that when you're talking about, and Anders will return to this, about the customer shopping experience, the last point you made was that the brick and mortar is just a step on that.
It's my Danish party, by the way.
There you go. It's just a step on that journey. So you keep in mind the full customer journey, and no matter where that sell ends, it's a success. Awesome. Any questions? Yeah, Mika?
Just one thing, we started out with Jeff saying that start with the customer and then go backwards.
Yeah.
When you sell via Amazon, whatever, how much do you actually know about the customer?
Yeah, so you
Hold on, I'll just repeat the question.
Okay. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
So the question is, the recommendation was look at the customer and work your way back. But when you're working with Amazon, how do you get that data of the customer and then work their way back?
So Amazon keeps in their pool all of the data they have from you personally right now, because you have someone give them the access or granted them the access to it. We won't get all of that, but we get certain kind of like audience segmentation possibilities on which we can then target you as well. So it's very simple, saying you're looking for any other kind of like audio brand. We can bid against that other audio brand as well. So that's like one of the kind of like simplest forms of performance marketing, for instance. The same what runs on Google as well. So you're looking at a other Danish competitor, we hit you with an advertisement. Now then obviously it goes all into kind of like who spends more money on trying to convert that very individual, which is one thing where we may kind of like lose out when it comes to this, the sheer cash kind of like competition, and that's what we're not going down to. But there are certain kind of like levels as well where we would understand, okay, we can target certain genders, we can target certain kind of like interest groups. So we have, for instance, headphones, we have Bluetooth products which are more for going outside, we've got Wi-Fi products which have a battery as well, so we can then see what is the right audience for us. If you've been looking at some sort of like, I don't know, picnic blankets and so on, we know there's a certain kind of like interest for you to have picnics outside, so we actually target you a Bluetooth product more than a Wi-Fi product, for instance.
All right, thank you so much. We did record this, so if you come back home and you think one of your coworkers should have listened in on this, you have a chance to revisit the live stream here later on as well. But thank you so much, Alex, for this.